My name is Garrison Gilbert. We are Multifamily Masters. I have my co-host, Mr. Jace Merrill. My other co-host, Miss Elsa Nguyen, is unable to make it this evening. Her father's having some health issues, so many prayers with her and her family. And we have special guest, a good friend of mine, someone who I'm in a mastermind with, Mr. Patrick Daniel, who is the number one salesman, was the number one salesman for Paychex for several years in a row. He is a top-notch salesperson, someone I respect greatly, and I don't say that about a lot of people. This dude is an absolute rock star, someone I try to talk to regularly. He's going to come on. He's going to share his goal-setting workshop that he developed and implemented for Paychex. And anyone who doesn't know what Paychex is the number one payroll processor in the country. Very large organization. If you Google them, you will find some documentaries and some things about them and their company culture. He's just an all-around awesome person. But before I let him introduce himself, my name's Garrison Gilbert. We are Multifamily Masters. We have 60 plus meetups across the country. We have a mastermind and coaching program. We throw conferences every now and then. And long story short, our goal is to grow the world's largest commercial real estate database because you are who you hang out with. And we're trying to add as much free content as possible. This is our Multifamily Masters Live. We do this third Wednesday every month. This month, we moved it up a little bit because it's all about goals. And I'm going to introduce my co-host, someone who I respect a lot and someone who helps me actually with a lot of our marketing and whatnot. He owns a marketing company as well as investing into real estate. He's invested into a couple of our deals. Mr. Jace Merrill, go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend.
What's up, everybody? Super excited to be here with y'all today. Like Garrison said, my name is Jace Merrill, and I built a company called Market Magnet Systems, which is a marketing agency, and we're proud to be the official sponsor of Multifamily Masters. We've been working closely with Garrison on the back end of things, helping him elevate his brand and grow his marketing efforts there. So we as a company strive to help real estate investors and entrepreneurs turn strangers into clients by making you famous in your market. Plus, we're all about saving you time and money by consistently growing your brand with our all-in-one CRM platform. And then lastly, we'll guide you guys through the ever-growing and changing world of AI and automations to help you guys streamline and supercharge your growth. So if we haven't connected already, very excited to do so and hear about your guys' goals to make 2024 a great year.
Absolutely. Before I forget, Jace, throw your contact information, throw your website, throw anything you want to throw in the chat below. And I made you co-host. Later on this evening, I'll have you read down some of the questions. And anyone who has questions or anything to say during this presentation here that Patrick throws, I'll let Patrick make the call whether he wants us just to interrupt him or we throw the questions in the comments in the chat below and then we hit him at the end. So with that being said, the man of the hour, good friend of mine, absolute kick-ass rock star, Mr. Patrick Daniel. Take it away, my man.
Garrison, man, I got to deliver now. Jesus.
Good. I like it.
Hey, I appreciate being on here. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Garrison kind of, did a fantastic intro. Now I got to earn it. But I started my career in selling. Actually, before I worked with Paychex, I worked in door-to-door sales. I knocked on doors for 7 years, going door-to-door, selling phone, internet, and TV. This is when I was really young. I went from knocking on doors to building a sales team, to building 5 or 6 sales teams with different telecommunication companies across the country. And when I was really sick of knocking doors after about 7 years, I decided I need to get a real job. So I went to go work for Paychex. Garrison said Paychex is the number one payroll company. They're one of the largest payroll companies. They're really a human capital management company. And I worked in the human resources department. So my job was to sit down and work with business owners and consult with them about how to attract, retain, and build their sales, their teams of employees. And so I would sit down, I'd do a business analysis with them, I'd find out where their strengths and weaknesses were, and then I would sell them a plan to help solve those problems. What's really interesting is it only took me about 2 years to become the number one salesperson at Paychex. because of all the years that I had spent knocking on doors. And what was really interesting was I made a lot more money at Paychecks, as you can imagine, than I did knocking doors. But it was like that seed. It was like I was preparing myself for success all those years, knocking doors, cold calling, recruiting people, training people. And then as soon as I made that little transition, to a new opportunity, it all really blew up. And I'm sure there's a lot of people here that can relate to something like that. You know, you take existing knowledge, you bring it to a new space, and all of a sudden you realize how valuable you are. This is all going to tie into goals, because really at the end of the day, I think almost every single person on this call here today probably has read a book on goals, heard a seminar on goals, or set goals themselves, or they probably wouldn't be on here, right? So what I'm going to do is something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about everything maybe that people don't talk about too much when they talk about goals, everything that goes along with goals, because there are some things that can prohibit you from reaching your goals, no matter how well your goals are set, right? And there are some things that will supercharge your goals if you have those things dialed in. So since most people on this call have read a goals book or heard about goals, I'm going to focus a little bit more on what goes along with that, right? Because maybe I can give you something new. Here's my goal. My goal is to give you one thing that you can implement in the next 48 hours that can make a positive impact on your business. That's my goal. So if you hear anything and the light bulb goes off, put it in the chat, because I want to know what it is that works in this process. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right. I appreciate that. Okay. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask me anytime. Let's make it as interactive as possible.
Absolutely.
Besides Paychecks, so I took a break from Paychecks towards the end of Paychecks. I started businesses. So I have started, purchased, and or sold over 15 businesses in 5 different states. I still have equity in a couple of them. And I've also done a lot of real estate, and that's where Garrison and I met. We've traveled all over the world together, going to different places, talking about real estate. The real estate that I do primarily is real estate. That's where I put my money, because I think it's a great investment, and that's where I like it to be. I sold a lot of properties in the last couple of years, but I still hold on to a couple of them that are doing well. So I'm pretty familiar. Here's what I want to talk about to start with goals. I want to start with beliefs. Because I believe that beliefs are one of those things that if they're not right, it doesn't matter how good your goals are. So here's some things that we know about beliefs. Almost all of your beliefs, your core fundamental beliefs, are formed by the time you're 8 years old. Did you guys know that? That's from Psychology Today. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is almost everything that you really believe fundamentally was given to you, because you didn't really choose your beliefs at 8 years old. You didn't make a conscious effort to choose what you believe. They were given to you. Where did you get them? Well, our beliefs are created and formed by the things that we seen, that we saw, and that we experienced with emotion during our formative years. And if you have beliefs that are not self-serving, are not serving your goals, they will inhibit you from reaching your goals, regardless of how good your goals are. As a matter of fact, all of our beliefs affect us all the time. Here's another thing about beliefs. You either choose to change your beliefs or improve them, or do nothing. And by doing nothing, you're choosing to keep the beliefs that you have. So in essence, it's not like I've got to pick my beliefs or change them. It's they were given to you, and if you do nothing, that's the same as choosing to keep the ones that you have, right? And our beliefs affect everything that we do. So the first part of goal setting, really, if you want to supercharge your goals, assuming, and we'll go over high level how to set goals, right? But if you want to supercharge your goals, the first thing that you need to do is you need to self-examine. You need to look at yourself, and you need to ask yourself, what beliefs do I have right now that are affecting my ability to achieve what I want to achieve in this world? If you've set goals before and you just haven't been able to hit them, if they've just been out of reach and you feel like you're just working so hard, there's a very good chance that there's a self-limiting belief somewhere in there that's keeping you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And you need to figure out what it is, and you need to replace it. That leads me to my next point. You cannot eliminate a self-limiting belief. It's impossible. There's not a belief that you have that you can get rid of, but you can replace it. You have to replace a belief. So when you identify that you've got a self-limiting belief that's holding you back, you can't just get rid of it, but you can replace it with something that serves you. Right? And so that's really what we need to do. And I'll talk to you guys a little bit about how you do that. Got some notes here.
You can't delete a belief, but you can change it. I'm taking notes, man.
You can replace it with something that serves you. Let me give you an example of how a belief works so that you guys can understand a little bit better. Here's a good example. Let's say you were 5, 6 years old, and you were hanging out in the kitchen with your mom. And all of a sudden you heard a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. And you saw your mom walk over to the door, and she looked out the curtain. She peeked over the curtain and she said, "Oh, it's a salesperson. Don't answer the door. Hi, don't answer the door. Don't make any noises. It's a salesperson. If we don't answer, they'll go away." Right? If that happened 3 or 4 times when you were a kid, what do you think your belief is about salespeople? What do you think it is?
They're horrible. They suck. I don't want to be near them. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to buy anything.
That's exactly how it works. And now today we have all types of people that are full grown that go, "I'm not good at sales. Like, I don't like sales. I don't like selling. I can't be a salesperson." But they don't even know why they can't sell anything. They can't sell anything because they were taught, they have a self-limiting belief that was given to them as a very young child by something that their mother didn't even really say. Because you watch their behavior, you look at the way that they're acting and reacting, and then you create and form a belief through repetition of the mind that this is something that I can't do. And now you own that. And guess what? Guess what? You can't get rid of that belief, but you can replace it. You can replace it with something else. How do you replace a self-limiting belief? This is a great question, because it doesn't really matter how good your goals are, right? Like if your goal is, all right, this year I'm going to sell. I'm going to go and sell this property. Or in essence, when I look at real estate, selling in real estate is really purchasing, right? Like we're looking to make a deal here. We're looking to close a deal. We're trying to buy something that fits in our buy box, that looks exactly like what we want. We want to pencil it out and we want to close it at a certain number. And we want to be able to raise capital. That's all selling, okay? You're getting somebody to sell your property at the price you need to buy it at. That makes sense, right? And you might set these goals. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And you can't, for the life of you, figure out why you can't convince somebody or sell somebody. And it's that self-limiting belief that's been inside of you, that was given to you, and you never made a decision to make a change, right? So how do you make a change? Great question. You create a new belief the same way that you were given your beliefs in the first place, okay? You do it through repetition. Let me step back. I'll give you very specific bullet points. First, number 1, you have to identify your self-limiting beliefs. How do you identify them? I'll give you 2 hints. 1, look at your parents or the people that raised you. Okay? Because if they've fallen short in any key areas of their life, if they've had goals that they haven't been able to accomplish, if they're horrible with money, they probably are because they have self-limiting beliefs. And those are the people that raised you. So one of the easiest things to do is to look at the people that raised you, whether your parents, your guardians, or somebody else, and look at them and go, hey, what beliefs did they have that don't serve them? Guess what? You might have made some changes at some point and made some choices, but the chances are you have a lot of them yourself. And so that's a great place to start. Second thing to do. Look at the areas that you've set goals in the past. And for the life of you, you can't figure out why you haven't been able to hit those goals. And reverse engineer that and start examining yourself to determine if there's a perspective or there's a belief in there somewhere that's not serving you. Become cognizant. So how do you start to change these beliefs? Well, you need to witness success. You need to witness success, because just like the way that you witness failure over and over, you need to witness success. So you have to surround yourself with people that are strong in the places that you haven't been able to succeed. It's called the law of association. You need to witness success. Proximity is power. You need to get physically close to the people that have the strengths that you admire, and you need to become very humble and an excellent listener and a witness. First, you've got to identify, then you need to get within proximity. There's also another way to find mentors. Books, tapes, podcasts. People that are thought leaders have taken the time to write down their thoughts. Beliefs are like an accumulation of thoughts. So by listening and finding, and creating, like bringing mentors into your life, they don't have to be physically close to you. You can get books and you can read them and you can absorb that information. And throughout that process, you can determine which beliefs that are being portrayed here in these books do I want to adopt for myself. And then one of my favorite things to do, like a practical application, is when I've identified a limiting belief, I like to come up with like a phrase or a quote that I can say as a trigger when that thing pops up in my head, right? So if I have a negative thought that's holding me back, or I have a self-limiting belief, or I have like a doubt, I'll memorize a quote that goes directly against that. And every time I have that thought, I'll say it out loud, or I'll say it in my mind over and over and over until that thought automatically comes out of my mouth or my mind every time that limiting belief creeps up in my life. I'll give you some examples because I wrote some of them down. You got them on your own paper somewhere, one of these pages.
Hey, Patrick, random question. How often do you think about, go over, reorganize your goals, your personal goals, work goals, etc.?
I write down my top 10 goals every day. I wake up at 4:30 and I have a process in the morning. I go to the gym. I come back, get dressed, take my kids to school, go straight to a coffee shop, and I write down my 10 most important goals. And I don't look at the ones from the day before. And like when I start the year, which we'll talk about in a second, I write down everything I want, because the more things I want that I know about, the more powerful and motivated I am, right? Who's more motivated? The guy that's got 10 things they want, or the guy that's got 100 things they want? The guy.
Well, if you got 100 things you want, hopefully you fall on at least 70 or 80% of those. So the chances of success are a little greater.
You know what I found? I found that when you go and write your goals, especially 100 of them, there's typically, 10 or even less, 5, that if you accomplish those, it would knock out most of the rest of the list.
Yeah,
right?
Very good point. Very good point.
You know what I mean? So really what it's all about is it's about taking the time to dump it all out, to think, get it all out on paper, and then go back and look through them and ask yourself this question. What goals on this list, if I was to accomplish them, would take care of the majority of the rest of these goals? Right? When I first started in my sales career, I realized I was really young. I wanted to buy a house. I didn't have a house, right? I was renting an apartment. I wanted to buy a house. I wanted to buy a car. I wanted to buy a BMW. I wanted to do a lot of things that cost money. And what I realized is if I just sold $1 million in revenue at my company, it would knock out almost every single thing on my list. That became my one single goal for the entire year. Let me tell you something. When you identify that one thing that you do that would make the biggest possible impact on your life, and you hone your brain in on that one single thing, and you become obsessed about it. Jim Rohn has a great quote. He says, the world will step aside for the man who's willing to say, I'll do or die. Right? A great quote. Everybody and everything seems to get out of the way for somebody who knows exactly what they want and exactly where they're going. The problem is those people are very few. Those are the people that you want. That's the type of person you want to become. All right?
Hold on, what was that quote? The world will step aside for the man who will do or die. Is that something like that?
Yeah, the world will step aside for the man who's willing to say, I'll do or die. Right? Somebody who knows exactly what they want. So here's a couple of phrases that I trained my mind, when I was writing this goals book. And I'll make this goals book. I'll make this available to you guys. We'll talk about it in a second. But so when I'm not getting the results that I want, like when I feel like I'm not getting the results that I want, I'd say to myself, I can't do the right things over and over and get the wrong results. I can't do the right things over and over and get the wrong results. When I don't feel like doing something I should be doing, I'd say winners do what's goal achieving, losers do what's stress relieving. I'd say it out loud. Like, I don't feel like doing this. Winners do what's goal achieving, losers do what's stress relieving. Let's go. Right? Turn it on. So when a large client, when I'm trying to close a large deal, people love me. People love to buy from me. People love to do business with me. I used to say that to myself before I walked into every meeting. People love me. People love to buy from me, and people love to do business with me. Right? It's just a trigger. If I had any self-doubt, it just comes out. Right? When I feel like going home at 4:30 or pulling the plug at 4:30, I would say to myself, I'm the best at what I do. I'm the best at what I do. When someone's whining or blaming or justifying that's in my space, oh my God, I can't handle it. When somebody's whining, blaming, or justifying, Harv T. Eckert has a quote. He says, if you're going to hang out with people that complain, you better have a steel umbrella because they're going to have shit flying at them from every direction, right? So make sure you bring your steel umbrella, right? But when someone's whining or blaming or justifying, I will persist until I succeed. I will do what others won't so that I can have the things that others don't, right? When frustrated because a deal didn't go my way, I will hear not those that weep and complain for their disease. I will hear not those that weep and complain for their disease is contagious. That's when somebody's whining, blaming, or justifying. I will hear not those who weep and complain for their disease is contagious. Get away, right? So anyways, the bottom line is when you have things that you know don't serve you in your life, come up with something short, quick that you can memorize, that you can override your negative thought patterns with, right? Identify what's holding you back and replace them with powerful statements. We're talking about goals here today, but if you have goals and you can't control your thoughts, you're not going to get what you want. People that are in control of their mind are in control of their destinies. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. All right.
Random question for you, Patrick. Do you still have negative thoughts? Do you ever have negative things that come across your mind, or have you trained yourself in such a way that that just does not exist anymore?
You know what? Here's the thing. This is really a great question. You're always going to have different things that come up in your life, depending on the phase.
Every day.
Every day, every day. So like before I had kids, I didn't have any problem like with everything that comes with having kids, right? So, you know what I mean? So now I do, and now I got a whole new set of problems. But here's the thing. What I'm trying to talk to you guys about today is tools like that same formula that I'm telling you, it works today with that set of problems. So if you understand how to fix the problem, if you understand how the mind works, the tool will work in every situation. So you've got to be cognizant of the fact too, that you're still in a state of becoming, and you've got to make using the tools, regardless of the stage, a habit, right? And that's the key. All right. So let's get into goals a little bit, but let's think of it this way. Let's just assume that we're all on the earth to create. Okay. Can we just say that the reason why human beings are here is to make an impact and create for ourselves a life, to positively impact society, to make something of ourselves. Okay. Nature has given us an example of how to do that, right? Think about a plant. Okay. A plant needs a few things. You've got a seed, you've got the soil, it's got a germination process, things that happen in the seed, in the ground. The seed changes because it's wired, with whatever genetic structure it has. And then after a while, it starts to sprout. It sprouts and it grows, and then it produces more seed. Okay. It produces the fruit. When we talk about goals, we're really talking about is like the vision of this fruit that we want to create in our lives. Okay. So we're going, hey, what fruit do I want to produce? And that's the blessing of being human. That's what makes us different. We get to decide whatever we want to do and then use a few key processes to bring that about in our real world. But here's the thing. It does not matter how great that seed is or how beautiful the vision is. If it's planted in soil that doesn't have the right nutrients, it will never be able to germinate and grow. So the soil is your belief system. You have to have a belief system that's conducive of making your seeds grow. Okay, so the soil is your beliefs. The seed itself and it is like the vision or the goals that you have. So let's talk about setting goals. If you don't know how to set goals or where to start, this is how you're going to do it. Okay. You can ask yourself some key questions, and I'm going to give you some key questions so you can write them down. That will help kickstart this for you. Here's one question. If I had $1 million cash and only 6 months to spend it, what would I do with the money? Like maybe you don't know exactly what you want. Well, if you had $1 million and you had to spend it in 6 months, what would you spend the money on? Okay. Second question. If you only had 6 months left to live and you were financially free, what would you spend your time doing? That's a very important question. And then when it comes down to really creating a big list of all the things that you want, what I like to do is I like to take time. I had a mentor, and he said most people don't know what they want because they never leave their phone at home, go to a park and sit under a tree and think about it for 2 hours. Like, when was the last time you just went somewhere, left everything aside, and went and just sat and thought about what you want your life to be, right? I like to, this is what I would do. I would go and take some time, close my eyes, and I would try to imagine my perfect life 10 years from now. All of my dreams have come true. I've done and accomplished everything that I want to accomplish in life. And I think about, where do I live? Who's standing by my side? What am I wearing? What kind of house am I in? Where, what kind of friends do I have? Where do I go on the weekends? What's in my house? And all you do is you start writing down all the things that you see, all the things that you have, and all the things that you've done. And you sit there and you write and write. And the first 10 or 15 are easy. The next 20 are hard. But by the time you start getting to the like towards 50 or 60, that's when some of your best ideas will come out of your brain. Like that's when you're starting to get pretty deep because you're really starting to think, right? And thinking is important. Jim Rohn says the person that works on their job will make a living, but the person that works hard on themselves will make a fortune. When you're taking time to think, you're working on yourself. That type of change makes real change in the real world, right? So step number one, take time to think and write down as many things as you possibly can. Dump it out on a piece of paper, 50 or more if you possibly can. Step number two is do what I said before, is ask yourself which goals on this sheet, if I were to accomplish them, would take care of several other goals on this sheet. And go through your list and look and start circling things that would knock out other things. Try to get it down to 10, 15, 20 goals that if you accomplish them, would make the rest of the things a reality. We're now getting closer to understanding what we have to do, right? And the next thing is to ask yourself, of these things, what's the one thing that if I did it in the next 12 months would have the greatest positive impact on everything? So out of the 10 or 15 or 20 that are left, what's the one thing that if I did it in the next 12 months would have the greatest positive impact on my life in moving me towards this 10-year goal that I want, right? Once you identify that thing, it becomes that focal point of the ability to begin to become like almost obsessive about something, right? And that's ultimately where you want to go. That's where the world steps aside for the person who's willing to say, I'll do or die, starts to come into play. That mentality, that walk, right? That the way you carry yourself. I knew a guy named Kalen when I was a young guy. He was like a VP at the door-to-door company. When the guy walked in the room, I like back then, I was just like, that guy's freaking in control. You know, you've ever seen people with presence? That's the power of focus, right? That's the power of somebody who's extremely focused. Okay. So we've all heard the SMART method, right? Goals have to be specific. They got to be measurable. They got to be attainable. They got to be realistic. They got to be timely. Okay. So once you figure out your goal, make sure it's specific, meaning it can't be like, I want to lose weight. It needs to be, I want to lose 27 pounds, right? So that's specific. Can't be like, I want to have an apartment building, right? It needs to be in your market. How many units? You got to know your wheelhouse. You got to dial it down. Okay. The second thing is it's got to be attainable so you can wrap your mind around it. It's got to be realistic. You need to put a date on it. I'm going to give you this. That's SMART. You guys have probably all heard of SMART. If not, just Google SMART. That's not me. I'm going to give you some other things, some better questions, some really good questions. Write these questions down. What is the benefit that obtaining this goal, or how will obtaining this goal change my life? Because being connected to your why helps you build desire. So what are the benefits? Second question, what is the skills or knowledge that are required to reach this goal? What is this? What are the skills or knowledge that is required for me to reach this goal? It's a very good question. Because a lot of times we go about thinking, what do I need to do? But oftentimes, a better question is, who do I need to become? Another question when it comes to once you've identified your key goal is, what major obstacles and mountains do I need to climb to reach this goal? What are going to be the rocks as I'm moving towards this that are going to come up? You know, as a salesperson, we teach people that they should never be caught off guard by an objection, right? Same thing with you. When you're going in to, when you've identified a property that you want to buy and you figure out who the owner is and you're going to call them, you're going through in your head, okay, what are these people going to tell me, right? Like what potential objections could they have? And you should know those things. Same thing when you're trying to reach a goal. What could come up? And then the next thing is, what individuals, organizations do I need to be a part of or to surround myself with in order to reach the goal? What individuals or organizations do I need to surround myself with or join in order to reach this goal? Take time to think about these things and write out the answers. Think about it. And then the next question is, what do I need to do? Like, what is the first step that I need to take right now in order to begin working on this goal? And take it, because momentum breeds momentum.
That's a good quote.
Momentum breeds momentum. And you should be working on your goals every day, right? You know, somebody said there's two types of people in this world: people that know exactly what they want and the people that work for them, right? So if you're working on your goals on a daily basis and you know what you want and you're driving towards that, it's going to be very attractive to other people, because there's two types of people that are moving, and the people that don't have those goals, they're going to try to attach themselves to somebody that's on their way. It's the only way for them to get there, right? So you got to pick who you're going to be. All right. So we got our beliefs. That's the soil. We now have figured out what it is that we want. You guys have some tough questions to ask yourselves, and some thinking to do. And once you identify what that is, the third thing is having an actual actionable plan. Here's what I realized, and this is really the catalyst of everything, is that time management, like the way you use your time is really everything. And a lot of people don't succeed because they don't know how to manage their time properly. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you guys about a formula that you can use, the way that I think, in order to really move the needle. Okay. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to identify what it is that you want. And for those of you that are trying to buy units, right? Like, or accomplish something, like, let's say it's a certain amount of units in a year. Okay. Or it's a certain amount of properties. Maybe you're new and you're starting out and you want to get, you know, your first deal done this year in the next 12 months, one deal, or you want 100 units, or you want 1,000 units, whatever it is. When you identify what that is, then you write it down on a piece of paper. And then you ask yourself this next question: what are the top 3 to 5 ways that I'm going to get this deal done? Okay, so let me give you an example. In order to buy a property, if that's what your goal is, what are your lead sources? Where are these deals coming from? Okay, could be brokers, could be cold calling owners, it could be sending out mailers, What are your it could be buying leads. What are your 3 to 5 ways that you're going to get the leads? So you know exactly what you want. Let's say you want to buy 2 properties this year or 3. You're going to write that down. I buy 3 properties that equal 200 units, whatever, 500 units, whatever your goal is. Next question. What are the 3 to 5 ways that I am going to get these leads? Okay. Lead sources. The next thing is, what is my closing percentage? Okay. So if you want to buy, say, 3 properties this year, how many offers do I need to make to get a property under contract? And if you don't know that answer, ask Garrison. That's where who do I need to surround myself? Like, what people do I need to surround myself with, or organizations, in order to get the information I need to know? But like, what would you say your average is? Like, if you make 10 offers, are you going to get like good offers on properties? Are you going to get something under contract? Is it 5? Right? A lot of factors go in there, but you need to know that number. So if you want to get, let's just use for an example, this one, I want to do 1 deal this next year, and I need 10 to make 10 offers in order to make that happen. Okay. Where are those offers going to come from? They're going to come from these 3 to 5 lead sources. Okay. The next is, what kind of contacts, what kind of activity do I need to do in order to get those opportunities to make an offer? Right. So I've got 1 deal. I need to make 5 offers. My opportunities are going to come from these 3 to 5 sources. How many leads do I need to get or create in order to make those 10 offers? So give you an example. You might need to get 3, you might need to talk to 10 owners to get to the point where you can make 1 offer on a property, where they'll give you the information to underwrite that thing successfully, right? So and let's just say for this example that you need to make 10 offers in order to purchase that property. That means you need to have 100 conversations with owners to get 10 people to let you offer so that you can get 1 deal closed. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So you've got that. You've got cold calling owners. Now you've got brokers. Okay. How many conversations with the broker do I need to have so that they'll send me like their best deals up front? Like, and how many of those good deals do I need to get before I can actually close on one? Okay. And then the next question you've got to ask yourself is, how much time does it take, or how many phone calls do I need to make in order to get 1 owner on the phone? Right? Because if I need to get, 100 opportunities to make 10 offers to get 1 deal, how many phone calls do I need to get to get those opportunities? It might be 10 phone calls to get 1 owner. So now you need to make 1,000 calls this year. 1,000. Okay. And then your next question is, how much time does it take me to make a phone call? So if you need to make 1,000 phone calls to get 100 opportunities to make 10 offers to get 1 deal, how much time does it take to make 1,000 phone calls? So let's just say between the people that do answer and don't answer, it takes 2.5 minutes to make 1 phone call. Okay. You need to make 1,000 phone calls. That's 2,500 minutes on the phone. Okay. Divide that by 60, and that's 41.6 hours that you need to make phone calls this year to owners in order to get, in order to make 10 offers in order to get one sale. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take that 41.6 hours and you're going to take a calendar and you're going to put it on your calendar. Okay. You're going to time block this off because it's part of your plan to succeed. Right. And this is what I'm saying. This is where the big gap is when it comes to people accomplishing their goals. They know what they want. They have an idea of what they want. It's specific, it's realistic, it's attainable. But what they don't understand, what they never do, is they don't actually put an actionable plan, like exactly what I'm saying, and then put it on the calendar and block it off. Because when you do this, guys, what happens is it all boils down to one thing. The D word, discipline. Will you make the calls when you're supposed to make the calls? Right? We know what we want. We know where our leads are coming from this year. We know how many opportunities, pitches we need to make. We know how many phone calls we need to make to get those opportunities. And we know how much time it's going to take. Now we've taken that time and we put it on our calendar. So what's the only question? Are you going to do it? And the reality is the only reason you don't accomplish your goals is because you don't do what it takes. And the reason you don't do what it takes is because you don't have clarity. And the reason why you don't have clarity is because you didn't take the time to make a plan and block it off on your calendar to get it done. That's the power, right? That's the germination process. And when you do that, if you do the right things over and over and over a certain period of time, you will get the right results. But you know what? The converse is true. You can't miss your dial time. You can't not make the calls. You can't do the wrong things over and over and get the right results, right? So do you know exactly what you need to do and when you're going to do? That's a question. So on a high level, just to do like a brief overview. One is the soil. It's the beliefs. Identify the beliefs that you've got that are not conducive of you producing the results that you want to have in your life, and replace them with powerful beliefs. How do you do that? Surround yourself with people that have the beliefs you admire, that think the way you want to think. Get mentors in real life and books, tapes, listen, submerge yourself. And 3, memorize things that you can use when negative beliefs crop up, statements that you can say that will replace those beliefs in your mind. So those are those action items. 2, future pace. Think about your perfect life in 10 years. Write down everything that you see and whittle it down to the one most important thing you can do in the next 12 months that will make the biggest impact on making your dreams a reality. Okay. And then 3, make a plan and make sure that plan is detailed and that you convert activity to time. You put the time on your calendar and you do what you need to do. And if you do those things consistently, you will make your dreams come true through your actions. Finally, this is what I'll say. I have this in my workbook along with some of the statements I say and this formula, this graph that we kind of just talked about here, where you kind of put in how many units you want and then your lead sources and you do the math. This is all here. This is free. I will email this. It's in PDF format. And if you guys just send me an email, patrick@servicestationre.com, I will email you the PDF. Just put MFM, send me the worksheet.
Just put MFM in the subject. He'll know what it means.
Yeah. And then I'll send you guys the worksheet. I'll just email it out to you guys and you can use it. I'm going to drop my email in the chat right now. All right. If you want to do some questions, if we have time, we can do that. And then whatever else.
Absolutely. Let me start off with my big question for Patrick is how often do you put, and I run into this all the time. How often do you put things on your calendar? I'm going to time block. I'm going to make 50 calls today. And then life comes at you and you do zero calls. How often does that happen to you?
Um,
Never. Wait, make me feel like a dickhead, man. Make me feel like a dickhead.
that's not the answer. Here, that's not the answer. So this goes deeper, but desire, right? Like desire. How bad you want something changes the way you behave, right? There's ways to increase your desire. So when I really want something bad, nothing can keep me from doing it. But in order to keep your desire really strong, that white hot flame, you've got to do the regular ritualistic practices that fire you up, right? So let me answer your question. When I'm doing the right things in my life, like when I'm waking up, I'm on point, I'm writing my goals, I'm focused, I make more phone calls than ever before. When I'm doing what I know I should do, when I should do it, I'm exercising discipline, that thing that we all hate to do, right? Like doing what you should do when you should do it. We all know we should do it, but why don't we do it? When you do that work early, first thing, you're unstoppable. But to the degree that you allow temporary pleasure to override long-term gain in moments, you're less effective in life, right? So to answer your question, I have a habit tracker and I have like my morning routine, which is in this PDF. Okay. It's here. Like how I run my day is in here. And I have a process. I have revenue generating hours and non-revenue generating hours. So there's a block of time in my day. It's money time. Okay. And for me, I try to make as much of my day money time as humanly possible. Right. So like for me, 9 to 5 is money time. Right. But here's the thing, there's non-revenue generating activities. There's stuff we got to do. There's emails we have to send, right? There's BS we got to take care of. And so what I do is I have my 9 to 5. That's time for me to do 3 things: set appointments, sell people, and solidify money I've already sold, right? I don't do crap that doesn't bring me money between those hours. That just means that I've got to do the stuff that doesn't bring me money early in the morning or late in the evening. And I'm okay with that, right? Because I got no issue with it. So my formula helps me make those calls. Does that make sense? There's only 3 things I'm doing between 9 and 5. I've got my appointments where I'm seeing people, and I've got my deals that I'm making go through. And the rest of my time, that's say phone call time, I'm blocking it out. So I make calls every day. Sometimes I don't make enough calls. Every week though, I make all my calls, right? So like if something comes up, I know exactly how many calls I need to make, and I'm pushing those out, and I don't let the sun go down on it because that's my freaking goals, man. That's everything I want, right? Like I'm not gonna let somebody else steal my goals from me. And that's ultimately what you're doing when you're letting other people come in and take your time, right?
I like that. Patrick, I have a question for you as well, and then I'll address someone's question in the comments. You talked about, at the beginning, you talked about witnessing success and being around the proximity of success. What would you say to people on the flip side of that? Because I've seen them at times in my life and in other people that they're around those people who are having a lot of success in whatever they're trying to achieve, and they are feeling overwhelmed by that success, and they're like, how am I supposed to get that? Kind of the negative aspect of it. How would you have people reverse that psychology on themselves?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Here's what I would recommend. Stop looking at the results that they're getting and be there by those people to be a witness to their thought processes. Okay. So I think a lot of times when there are people that hang out with other people that have a lot of success, but they're not focused on learning what they need to know in order to get those results. They're just hanging out, right? They're not asking the questions, and they're not serious. They're not trying to get private time. Are those people writing down questions for those people and bringing them to them and going, listen, when you have 15 minutes, I got 3 questions I really need to ask you? Or are they just hanging out with those people? See, it's a different behavior. Yeah. Like you've got to be very intentional, because again, what I'm talking about is being near those people to solve a specific problem. Now you've identified that these people have the thought processes and the beliefs that you want. So you're with them because you admire them. You're willing to do whatever you need to do in order to bring value to their life, but you're very intentional about what you want to get out of the relationship. When I'm mentoring somebody, I love that. And I don't really like to hang out with people that don't bring value to my life, that are just there to hang out. But if somebody's not at my level, but they're there and they know what they want, I love it. Right? Would you guys agree? If you have people that you're mentoring, right? So I think that's the difference. I'm not talking about just trying to hang out with people, but because you got to understand the law of, well, anyways, long story short, people that aren't on the same level don't hang out for very long. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not on the same level as somebody else, you're probably not going to hang out. So you either need to get up to that level quick, or you're probably going to get, quite a few less phone calls in the future.
Very good point. Very good
Awesome,
point.
man. That was awesome. I appreciate that. There's Erin Brown had a question in the comments. She says, when you roll up those goals, does the high level goal still need to be measurable and specific?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. You're like, for instance, like I told you guys, my original goal that really proved out this process for me was I will sell $1 million in revenue by June 1st. Okay. That's pretty specific. It was a date and it was a certain number. So, and by the way, I'm aware that people, like, not everybody's goals are money. Some people have family goals. You can have those too. But yeah, it needs to be very specific and it needs to have a date on it. Definitely. Great question, though.
What other questions do we have, Jace? Anything in the chat?
I think that
Any
was all.
questions from anyone who wants to speak up? Feel free. Here's your chance. Here's your opportunity. Going once. Jace, any more questions in the comments below?
Yeah, it says, oh, here's one. It says, how do you time block your calendar? Do you do it every day or on a weekly basis?
Great question. I prepare the next day, the night before. That being said, in the beginning of the year for my yearly goal, I know how many hours I need to do each thing. So for instance, I get a lot of business from brokers. Okay. In one of the businesses that I do, insurance brokers refer me a lot. Okay. I want to do a certain amount of business from brokers. I know that typically every two times I meet with a broker, I can usually get them to give me the name and phone number of somebody that they've recently done business with that I can do business with. Okay. I know that I close those deals at about 50%. Okay. Which means if I want to do 10 deals, I need to have 50 referrals. And I know I meet with brokers every 2 times. I typically get a referral. I need to have 100 broker meetings or 200 broker meetings or whatever it was, 100 broker meetings. And those 100 broker meetings typically take me about an hour each. So I need 100 hours of broker meetings at the beginning of the year. So when I have my revenue generating hours, I'm going through my calendar on Outlook. I'm putting a reoccurring time frame for, if I'm going to work 50 weeks, that's 2 hours a day meeting with brokers. I know that those 2 hours need to go in between 9 and 5 because those are my revenue generating hours. Now, to answer your question, depending on how my day went, I might do those 2 hours at 9 a.m. or 3 o'clock or whenever those brokers can meet. So I'm going to schedule that in maybe a week in advance, maybe a day in advance, depending on how hard I'm hustling to get those meetings. And those are going to go in during that time block time. But you need to know at the beginning of the year exactly how much activity you need to do that year to make your dreams come true through your actions. And then you can adjust that on a daily basis. I hope that answers your question.
How often do you get sidetracked from your goals because of your cell phone, because of social media, because of that type of stuff?
Great question. Too often, we all do.
Yeah.
It's called impulse control. It's called impulse control, man. And it's something that we didn't really have to deal with, but we are all when you become good at whatever you do, the better you are, the more people want your attention and time, and the more people come out of the woodworks to try to steal it from you. And social media makes a lot of money on you because every view is worth real money, right? And you have to be very intentional, and you need to set up in your life around you things that will protect you and your time from the people that want to steal it, right? The name of the game is mental real estate. Everybody wants your mental real estate. Everybody does. It's valuable, but it's your real estate, your goals. And honestly, Gilbert, what I got to say is that probably in itself is like the crux of all of it, right? To the degree that you protect and own the most of your own mental real estate, are you successful? It's that important. So use all the tools, guys. I have this remarkable, okay? This is a paper tablet. It doesn't have the internet on it. It's black and white. Do you know why? Because it can't give me a push notification. It's just a pen and a paper, and it's digital. I love it for that reason. This is a tool I use to protect my mind, right? As opposed to doing it on my phone. The problem with the phone is it beeps at me and bings at me every time I try to go on it. So even if I'm over here trying to like plan out my day, the device itself is still trying to steal my attention every moment. You got to be cognizant of that stuff. You got to use the tools. You got to create tools, and you got to protect yourself.
What brand tablet is that? What do you use?
Remarkable. Highly
Yeah.
recommended.
Yeah, I love it. I broke mine in a hyperbaric chamber. Very nice.
You got to get another one, man.
Yeah, 100%. Any questions from anyone? And I mentioned earlier that I'm in a mastermind with Patrick, and the dude is an absolute whirlwind of information. And he also helps me out on a lot of my properties. Patrick, do you want to talk about Service Station real quick? A company that you're involved with right now?
Yeah. So I'm on the advisory board, the company called Service Station.
And we use Service Station on all of our properties.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool platform. Basically what it does is it allows you as an owner of a property or a property manager to make money on the essential services that people sign up for every time they lease a unit. Okay.
TV, internet, cable, all of that type of stuff. Gas,
TV,
electric.
Gas, electric, if it's deregulated, right? And so people are buying things when they move into your units, right? And the software's in a phenomenal place right now. We've got contracts with every telecommunication company across the country, all the utilities we can hook up. I was talking to one of Garrison's property managers the other day, and
which one was that?
Brandy.
Okay.
Talking to Brandy, and she was telling me when I was talking to her, she's like, "This is really awesome because sometimes my tenants tell me they have to wait on hold for an hour or two to get the electric hooked up." She said, "I even had one in here. I was on the phone with him for an hour trying to get the electric. I was on hold for an hour, right?" And so what Service Station does is when somebody moves in, they get an email from our company that is an extension of the property, right? And it says, "Welcome to the property. It's time to set up your utilities." And it gives them all the things that they need to set up: phone, internet, TV, gas, electric. They can do renter's insurance. They can even get movers on there. They pick the ones that they want. And let's say they pick cable for television. Every cable carrier pops up. It tells them what their packages are. They select it, and it goes great. Then they go down, electric. Here's the electric company. Select it. And the system itself sets up all of the utilities for them, and it sends the property manager an email that says it's been done. Here's the account numbers, just in case they need it. And then it allows them to schedule out all of those utilities. Now, what we do is we do a revenue share. So if you are a property owner or a property manager, you get a percentage of the money that the company gets paid for providing this service. So you're now making money, and you're helping your property managers, and the customers absolutely love it because it sucks to try to figure out all the different things you need to sign up, and it saves them a ton of time. So Service Station is an incredible product. And I'm on the advisory board. We're building out the go-to-market strategy for the company. It's growing really fast. John's on here. He's actually joined today because I told him about the call and he wanted to learn about goals too. But he's the chief revenue officer on here, and I believe he said we've got 5,000 units coming on in the next 60 days that have already signed up, just that we're onboarding right now. So it's pretty cool.
And the biggest benefit, I did not know about the revenue sharing part of it. That's awesome. But the biggest benefit for me as being an owner, several times I've been caught where I've paid 1 or 2 or 3 months worth of electric, gas, TV because the new tenant never switched it over into their name, which absolutely infuriates me.
Oh yeah, that's how you lose money right there. I mean,
absolutely,
especially if you have 1,000 units. I mean, it can become expensive. There's another thing too. If you have a contract already, like some people already have a contract with AT&T and they have a revenue share going on where AT&T is kicking them back or Charter Cable, it still works.
Oh,
so
nice.
you can still use the service. Those people still have to sign up. Your property managers it still works. And then in areas where there's deregulated gas and electric, if you have a revenue share there, like in order to get the credit, you actually have to sign them up for the gas and electric, and our system gives the credit back to the owner. So I mean, there's really a ton of reasons to do it, and not very many reasons not to. And so really excited about it. It's growing quick.
And you don't charge me anything for it, so it's a good thing.
I don't charge you anything for it, no.
Much appreciated. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to invite you on another MFM Live, and we'll talk about Service Station a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, sounds good.
Dude, this was awesome. Thank you so much. Anyone have any last questions, anything in regards to goals, 2024, things you want to accomplish, things you want to knock out of the park, etc.? Here's your chance to ask Mr. Patrick or myself or anyone else on this call. Feel free to speak up. If not, I'm going to leave this channel open. I let this channel open every time, and you guys can network, swap names, swap CRMs. You know, your goal as a real estate investor is to grow the world's largest database. Earlier, when Patrick said you got to surround yourself with the right people, these are the type of events you hang out at. These are the type of events you network with people such as Joanna, Jace, Patrick, Mitch, who I saw on here a little bit ago, Dan, Armel, some really cool people, some really good friends who I've hung out with quite a bit because we help each other grow and we're that support system for one another. So with that being said, I am going to end the recording.